What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 9, episode 20, part 3 of the reunion. And I'm gonna be honest, they could have kept this, okay? I'm not saying it was bad, but it was just kind of like, why are we doing this? Like I think part 1 and part 2 were really good. And I was just like, this part 3 ain't really give me what I thought it was supposed to give. I really feel like y'all could have, we ended with part 2 and 3 and just gave us like a 30-minute wrap up. Cause this definitely didn't need to be another hour or 45 minutes. But let's get into the video. So y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I just got a few things to talk to y'all about. So let's get into it. So, I did a the drama video on I think Saturday where I talked about Karen speaking during her trial. I actually found the audio and played it in the video, as well as we talked about the different ladies' responses or their reactions to Karen going to jail. So, if you want to watch that video and get my thoughts, please look in the description box below and click the link. And y'all know I try my best to timestamp my videos. So if you go to that video and you specifically are there for Real Housewives of Potomac, just look in the comment section and it's the pinned comment. So moving on. So let's talk about Say Yes to the Dress, y'all. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I used to love that show when I was growing up. Like, that was one of the shows that I watched faithfully on TLC. And I'm just a sucker for like a romantic story that has like a lot of heart to it. And I just like dresses. I like seeing like dress reveals and people, real reality like drama, okay? But I knew that Ashley was on Say Yes to the Dress, but I didn't know Mia was on. And there's a like 2 clips going around. One when she's on Say Yes to the Dress with her bridesmaids, where she looks so pretty. And Mia has always been Mia, because even then she was throwing shade at them girls talking about, I lost 27 pounds. The girls could at least use 5 because a couple of them done got fat. I said, oh, okay. And then there's another clip going around of Mia in her actual dress with her bridesmaids with Gordon, and they both look so young and different. I'm just mad that Mia messed with her face because she was very pretty. I don't think Mia's ugly now, but I feel if she would have naturally let her face like transition without fillers or Botox, she would be even more pretty. But let me play the clip for you guys. Is absolutely the woman of my dreams. I do feel like a fairy tale. So what's crazy is I think this clip that I played for you guys is from Say Yes to the Dress, but there also is one where she did Say Yes to the Dress bridesmaids, and I was looking for Jacqueline when they had the women come to like try on their bridesmaid outfits, and Jacqueline wasn't there, but she was in a flashback photo, and I was like, oh wow, Mia didn't lie to us about her friendship. Like, her and Jacqueline really have been down for each other for years. So I thought that was funny. I also am wondering, like, does Bravo do they casting call from Say Yes to the Dress? Because for Ashley and Mia to be from there, I think that's funny. I don't know. I think it's hilarious. So since we're talking about Mia, let's stay on her for a minute. So shouts out to Reality Rundown. They did a live event featuring Mia, Jacqueline, and Jazzy. And shouts out to one of my mutuals. His name is Justin Colin. I don't know him personally, but we've talked a few times on Twitter and we follow each other. But he has a really close relationship with Candace, and it's been really nice to see him grow in like the blogger, like reality TV sphere, because he actually, I think, is a part of Reality Rundown, and he was interviewing Mia, and he did like a really good job based off the clips that I saw that were reposted. But Candace also showed up. She looks great, okay? And y'all know Candace just released new music, and I've been seeing a lot of positive reviews. So definitely check her out. And it's not just been from like Candace fans and stans, it's actually been from other people who like music. So Justin posted this. He said, "My bestie at Candace still at the real Candace and I. Fun fact, my bestie came over one day going through it, and his first episode he ever watched was Candace and at Chris Bassett's wedding. LOL. We look fab." So they do look really great together. So like I said, Justin interviewed Mia. I actually like what Mia has on. But what's it called? There was another guy that Justin had invited to this event. His name is Dustin Cone. I've talked about him before too, but he pretty much was spilling tea about pivotal things that were said at this event. So I wanted to read through it. So it says this: Potomac housewife T got invited to an event with Mia, Jacqueline, and Jazzy by at Justin Colin, and here's some tea. Mia regrets bringing up Giselle's daughters, but claims Giselle wasn't mad until someone got in her ear. Thought she was being a real friend and prompting Karen to talk about her DUI. Girl, the lies, and has no regrets. Going on, Jacqueline. It says Jacqueline was casted last minute and wasn't ready for it. Was told I might be a full time, so that's why I gave it my all. Said her heart dropped when she heard Karen's sentencing. I can kind of believe that from Jacqueline, because even though she felt like Karen was doing too much, she still cares about Karen to a certain extent, because Karen was the only person that was still talking to her after she got booted off the show by her friend, i.e. Mia. And then Jazzy, it says, called herself Casper the Ghost and how she was edited out this season. Said Mia's comments about Giselle's kids were disgusting and pushed back on Mia, claiming Giselle was just situationally mad. Believed TJ was trying to embarrass Stacey after how he was perceived on the show. And then the last part is hashtag RHOP, hashtag RHOP reunion, hashtag throw social DC at the reality rundown _. I kind of get where Jazzy's coming from about TJ wanting to embarrass Stacey based off of how he was perceived, but we'll get more into that into the review. But that is what was said at the event. So shouts out to Reality Rundown, as well as shouts out to Dustin Cone and Justin Colin. So finishing up with Mia, she posted a picture of herself on Instagram with the same outfit that she wore at the Reality Rundown event. So I'm guessing this was taken before or after the event. And she looks good. She looks expensive for once and not cheap. But she said this: in the end, karma will be the bigger bitch than I'll ever need to be. And see, Mia, you just as delusional as Stacey and Karen, because what karma are you suggesting that is going to be thrown on these women for calling you out for having such a stupid and contrived storyline that basically, like you said in the episode, put you in a position where people question your motherhood? That's your fault. This is your karma, that the people are laughing at you. But okay, girl. So let's talk about Watch What Happens Live. So Stacey was featured on Watch What Happens Live with Dr. Simone. And Andy made it a point to let everyone know that they are taping this before Karen's sentencing. And I was kind of bummed because I wanted to hear what she had to say. Because in my The Drama video, we know now Vivian has spoken out, Kiarna said something, Ashley said something, Wendy said something, and Giselle said something. Heck, we even got what's her name? Jacqueline saying something at the Reality Rundown event, but I wanted to know what Stacey had to say. But since this was taped before we found out that Karen, or before they found out that Karen got sentenced to a year, they didn't really touch upon that. Mainly what they talked about is the whole TJ of it all. So it was interesting because Dr. Simone let it be known that Walter, the guy that Kenya is famously known for asking to be her boyfriend on the show, is actually Cecil's nephew. So let me play that clip for you, because that's wild to me, because I thought Walter was old when we saw him back then. How old is Walter? I could have sworn that man was like 45 when we met him. He got to be 60 now.
Hold on. Cecil's nephew is Walter?
Yes.
Walter. Okay, yes. Okay.
Yes.
And, okay, well, this is T. Keep going.
Yes.
Yes.
So
This is who TJ was accused of.
Yes.
Okay.
Being like Walter. Yes. Okay.
She asked him, they dated years prior. to the filming, but she asked him would he be willing to film with her.
So Kenya was paying Walter.
I don't know if he paid.
Okay,
I don't think she paid.
Stacey would not be paying. If we're going to pay somebody, it would not be a person like TJ. At least if you're going to act, you should act like you like her. And he didn't act like he even liked her.
Why would I pay
But
someone
I've been telling
to
her,
mistreat
Stacey, this
me?
from the beginning.
That makes no sense.
I want. No, I've been telling Stacey from the beginning. He is an opportunist, camera-hogging, loving person. I'm an actor, too. We all out here trying to do what we have to do.
Okay.
But he turned into 3 different characters. On the last person at the end, I've never heard that voice before.
So I guess it's called 6 degrees of separation, because I'm not going to lie. How old is Walter? Again, I thought that man was like in his 40s, like his late 40s when we saw him messing with Kenya. Like, he looked old to me. And maybe because I was really young when I was watching Real Housewives of Atlanta, but he just looked old to me. So I don't know. I was like, he looked old. He looked older than Cecil and Simone, in my opinion. But shouts out to AJ for standing up for his friend, because Stacey is definitely not doing a good job standing up for herself. So the next clip I want to play for you guys is of Andy asking Stacey, so did you contact Walter? Not Walter. Did you contact TJ? And what did he say if you did contact him?
How quickly did you call TJ after we wrapped the reunion?
Immediately.
And what did he say?
He was very remorseful. He was very emotional, and it was a hard call to have.
You maintain that you did not pay him.
I did not pay him.
Okay, so why did he say that?
In a real relationship with him, and he treated me very poorly. And to see him be so disrespectful, and to see him be definitely unchristian,
okay,
and do this to me at the reunion, it was just jarring, quite frankly.
What was his motive in saying it?
It's so obvious to me, and I hate to say this, but the ladies were right. He's not the man for me. I was looking for love, and he was in love with being in front of the camera.
So this Watch What Happened Live did not do any favors for Stacey, in my opinion. It just kind of made it seem worse. Like, it definitely gave that, like, girl, what TJ said on that phone was true to a certain extent, because I got some words for TJ as well. I will give Stacey this. When she's in her confessional and when she's on Watch What Happens Live, she can read, but she is not that quick in front of the girls. I don't know if she gets frazzled, because I couldn't find the clip of her saying this where she said both Giselle and Ashley have been humiliated by men, so they should understand my pain. I said, ooh, Stacey, because that was a good one. We know Giselle's been humiliated by Jamal. We know Michael has humiliated Ashley a bunch of times on this show. But I was just like, girl, why didn't you say that on the show? Like, you had opportunity on the reunion to say this, and she didn't say anything. She just made herself look worse. And I don't really believe that she talked to TJ and he was remorseful, because now TJ's on the internet talking about he got some earth-shattering news to share with us. So let me play that video for you guys.
Old friends, new friends. What up, y'all? Just getting back from Phoenix. I was doing a play there about Alzheimer's. And anyway, I was getting a bunch of text messages because people were saying, TJ, there was an earthquake in North Hollywood yesterday. Are you okay? Because I live in Burbank, super close to where I live. Speaking of earthquakes, it might be my turn to share some earth-shattering news.
So I'm going to need TJ to understand that even though we're all making fun of Stacey and laughing in her face, that doesn't mean we like you. You were very mean towards that lady. You showed a very, like, nasty side of yourself, sir. So, like, it's giving loser, it's giving cornball right now. And honestly, sir, like, the meme that's going around, you got 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Like, sir, if you don't drop receipts at least by Wednesday morning, no one's going to care. Honestly, I'm being very generous saying by Wednesday morning, because you honestly have until Tuesday, and I'm recording this on Monday. Because I promise you, by the time it hit Thursday, no one's going to care about Potomac. No one. Like, the bombshell was Karen going to jail. And we're kind of almost all past that now because she's sitting in jail right now, living, serving out her time. You got like less than 30 minutes, so you got 15 minutes to produce some receipts or be quiet. So the last part before we get into the reunion is this tweet that Eddie sent out where he said, attention, attention, Messy Eddie Cleaning Services LLC will be open for business summer 2025, taking care of all your residential, commercial, and Airbnbs and rental cleaning needs. Hashtag Messy Eddie, hashtag cleaning services, hashtag businessman, hashtag serial entrepreneur, hashtag RHOP. Now, I'm not going to lie. If Eddie pops out with a cleaning service, I'm gonna be gagged, and I will give him his tens because that's how you're supposed to use your platform. You turn lemons into lemonade and you make a business. But I just think he was joking. But let's get into this review. So like I said in the intro, this really wasn't needed. I really feel like they could have took the Stacey, TJ, Mia leaving part and just added that in on part 2, and we could have called it a day. Them rehashing Karen and all that stuff. And maybe it's just because I'm kind of over it. Like the chapter to me is kind of already closed because she's in jail. Like the case is over. She's in jail for a whole entire year. She's probably going to at least have to serve 6 months and then get out. That I'm just kind of like, I don't even need to know anymore about Karen day drinking and stuff like that. Clearly the lady has a problem with alcohol because this is her 4th DUI. So I just didn't feel like it was needed, in my opinion. But here we are. So the episode opens up and you have everybody on stage except Mia. Mia having a full-on breakdown in her dressing room, ripping off her ostrich feathers, telling her, stylist, y'all got to get me out of this. Like, guys, get me out of this. I was so surprised that Jacqueline said her pregnant self on that stage and her baby daddy is freaking out. Like, your baby daddy is in there. Go check up on your friend, girl. But Jacqueline said, girl, I'm too pregnant for that. I'm going to sit right here. She got it. So everyone is just kind of not really batting the eye that Mia is gone. Some of them are kind of wondering if she's coming back, but they don't really care. And that should let Mia know, girl, you overplayed your hand. And nobody on the stage, even your scissor sister, don't even care about you leaving. So they're sitting on stage and next thing you know, Andy ends up asking Stacey about TJ again. And that lets me know somebody in production, got him hip to, something had went down between Eddie, TJ, and Greg on FaceTime. And so again, Andy asked her why TJ wasn't there, what happened between them, and she ends up being he's still a good guy, but I didn't like the way that he spoke to me, and I told him that, I just didn't invite him here. There's no point for him to be here because we're not together anymore. So then Wendy chimes in, and she was like, well, girl, that's not what TJ said. And so Stacey's like, what do you mean? And Wendy said, well, TJ told Eddie that, girl, you didn't invite him to the reunion. You paid him to be on the show, and sis, you're in the rears. So Stacey is like, girl, what? And then Kiarna, Ashley, and Giselle gagged. They're like, girl, huh? What you mean? What do you mean? And so then Stacey is just her face, the face let me know, oh, girl, there's some truth to what he is saying. Because I don't necessarily believe all of what TJ is saying, but I do believe what he's saying, there is truth to it. Because Stacey had this look on her face, just a very, her brain was working, trying to figure out oh crap, he told on me, how do I rework this in my favor? And so you have Kiarna being oh my God, I knew TJ was acting like a paid actor. I said, no, he wasn't, because if he was a paid actor, he would have at least acted like he cared about her. TJ always acted like he was annoyed by Stacey or repulsed by her. So I don't really necessarily believe the payment portion. Maybe she said that she was going to pay him in exposure, or maybe when he was, when they had that one scene where he was talking about when are you going to get a divorce, he doesn't want to be a secret anymore. Maybe it was because Stacey promised to give him a part of her alimony or something, or pay him out after she got finished with her divorce. I don't know. But I'm just he didn't give paid actor because he never seemed like he liked her. It really felt like it was a chore for him to be around her. So Stacey is just I'm like, no. And Andy, when I tell you Andy was enjoying this because he sat there like with this like, ooh, tell me more look on his face. And so I think Andy ends up being like, well, do we have the camera, or do we have the footage in the control room? And I think Andy ends up saying yes. So then Jacqueline was like, well, why would Stacey have to pay for a boyfriend? Look at her. She's pretty. And so Stacey is just like, I don't believe what you're saying, Wendy. And Wendy is like, girl, why would I lie about this? So then they're like, where's the footage, Andy? And Andy ends up letting everybody know that the camera that was filming TJ and Greg is currently following Mia in her dressing room. I said, see, Mia, messing up every day. You just be messing up stuff. So Mia's in the dressing room, and mind you, I felt bad for the guy that was trying to get her out of her dress, because when I tell you Mia, that's how I knew Mia was really embarrassed, ashamed. Her fight or flight kicked in. She was overwhelmed and probably like very much overstimulated by the situation, because she kept moving. And I mean, she was moving frantically in that dressing room. And the guy was behind her trying to undress her. Production ends up asking her, like, are you like leaving? Are you just cooling down? You're just getting out of the dress? And she's like, no, I'm leaving. Not my kids, guys. Not my kids. And I said, well, you've been talking about your kids since episode 1. So it's not okay for you. It's okay for you to talk about Giselle's kids, but it's not okay that they talk about your kids. And honestly, they weren't even talking about your kids. You talked negatively about Giselle's daughters. They're talking negatively about you as a parent. That's your fault. So then Mia ends up being like, I should have never put myself in a position where my motherhood could have been questioned. I said, yeah, that's your fault again. And she's still moving around. Honestly, if I was that man that was trying to get her out of dress, I'd have been like, hey, I get it. You having a moment right now, but if you want to get out this dress, stand still. And then I would have pulled her out because she was doing too much. And so this is the thing. Mia can only be mad at herself and Gordon, and well, really just her and Gordon. She can't even be really mad at Ink. I mean, she slightly can be, but at the end of the day, Ink is not that boy's daddy. And even if Ink wanted to know about like the paternity of Jeremiah, it definitely didn't need to be a storyline. You could have did that on the low and called it a day when y'all weren't filming. You wanted this to be filmed and you wanted it to be a moment. And like Giselle said, girl, if the fans were to have been going up for you, you wouldn't be sitting on here like ashamed and embarrassed. You would have stood in it. But the fact that everybody has been kind of like on your neck, now all of a sudden it's a problem. So we get back to the stage while Mia is still undressing, and the ladies are just like, girl, he's saying, like, Wendy is like, girl, he's saying that you're in the rears. And they're like, well, do you have any proof? Like, do you have receipts to prove that what he's saying is not true? And so Stacey's like, why? Like, why would I owe TJ any money? Like, I don't owe him any money. So Andy is kind of trying to help Stacey out by being like, well, does he think you owe him something else? Like, did you pay him like for flights to come here? Did you pay for like a hotel room? Because you know he was bi-coastal coming from California to DC. And Stacey's like, no, like, why would I entertain a lie like that? I never did something like that. I didn't pay him to be my boyfriend. Like, I did not do that. I didn't do that. So then Andy ends up telling her like, well, girl, they got footage of him saying it, because she keeps saying that she does not believe what Wendy is saying, and she doesn't believe that TJ would say something like that. And Andy's like, well, girl, they got the footage. He did say it, because they got the footage of him saying it. We just waiting for the camera to get off Mia to play it. So Mia is in the hallway crying. And this cry, I believe, was a real cry, because normally when Mia cries, it's very high pitched. But when she was in that hallway being like, where do I go? Where, like, how do I get out of here? Her voice was normal. It was like a normal, like, and it was deep. And I was like, oh, girl, like, you're really embarrassed and ashamed. And like, you should be. Like, this is your fault that this happened. Like, nobody told you that this, like, because honestly, this didn't have to be Mia's storyline. Her storyline could have been, how do I integrate Ink into my family now? That's it. That's all it had to be. It did not have to be, how do I integrate Ink into my family? Also, is Jeremiah Ink's baby dad? Is Jeremiah Ink's father? No, is Ink Jeremiah's father, I mean. So I was like, you didn't have to do this. And you being sad, that's it's your fault. Like, the only people that can be mad at themselves is Mia, Gordon, and Ink. Because all three of them played themselves. Gordon going along with this and then stopping in the middle being like he don't want to do this. Ink going along with this and then pulling out when he realized it wasn't going in his favor, and Mia coming to the reunion and not being strong enough or real enough to stand in it. Because I was so surprised that Mia was backpedaling, because she was so like cavalier and so like she just had all this audacity and boldness to then come to the reunion and like flop like this is mortifying. Like, it's embarrassing. So we get back to the stage, and Giselle is like, girl, you busted, like legs wide open, honey, like they embarrassing you. And a lot of people were mad at Giselle because they're like, well, Giselle, that boy last year was a fake relationship. And I was like, yeah, it really was. And then even the relationship when she brought Jamal back in was fake, but we all said it was fake. We never got confirmation that it was fake. Even though we know it's fake, this is more salacious because we getting confirmation that like what we all speculated is true, it's fake. Okay. So then Stacey ends up being like, why on earth would I sit here and say like why would I entertain this lie? Like, why would I like call this man? Because everyone now was like, girl, you should call him. Call him, like pull out some receipts. Kiana kept telling her, girl, like, if you have receipts, produce them, because he might produce them on you and that's gonna be a fool. So then Andy ends up being like, could it possibly be that you and TJ just not on the same page? And she's like, no, like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know why he's doing this. So then they're like, bring Eddie out. So then Andy is excited. Bring Eddie out. Bring Eddie out. Bring Eddie out. So Eddie walks up on stage. He's kind of like, why am I here? So then Kiana tells the Karen picture, girl, you're vindicated. Because I guess Karen was saying that Stacey is a fraud and be lying. I don't know. But I was just like, well, I guess she is. So then Eddie comes up on stage. He's the first husband to sit in the, in the first chair. He sits down and he's kind of like, so why am I up here? And everyone's like, cause you know why you up here, Eddie. And then Stacey tries to act like she feel like Eddie is lying. And Eddie kind of turned his head like, girl, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. It's filmed, it's recorded, girl. I'm not lying. Eddie is officially on stage, okay, and the girls are ready for the tea. So while they're sitting on stage, Andy ends up asking Eddie, so what did TJ tell you? And Eddie ends up saying, well, he basically said that someone owed him money. And Stacey's like, who owed him money? And everyone's looking at Stacey, clearly you, girl. And Stacey is trying to play the semantics word, where because TJ didn't outright say her name, I feel like she's trying to like feign ignorance or have like plausible deniability. But when they play the flashback, it's clearly clear that man was talking about you, sis. So as they continue, Stacey is like, I don't understand why he would say this stuff, other than like maybe he's upset that we broke up, but we broke up because of the pressure. And I'm like, what pressure? Because let's be real, girl, and let's be honest, nobody was pressuring you to stay. Man, everyone was outright telling you not to be with him. Giselle said it, Ashley, Karen, your cousin / aunt said that, and even your friend AJ, who was doing your hair and that was on Watch What Happens Live, was like, girl, why are you with him? Like, you sure you want to be with him? You've been married for 17 years. Why are you trying to play these games? So it's clear that like Stacey is using the whole like pressure word, because there was no pressure for you to rush into a relationship with him. This was all you're doing. So Eddie ends up saying he doesn't think TJ is upset about their breakup, because that's what Stacey is trying to say, why he's saying those things that he's saying. Eddie ends up saying that TJ seemed more upset about the money and how people perceived him on the show, because he ends up saying that it seems like TJ is upset that people thought he was this flamboyant person, basically saying that he's upset that people perceived him as gay. And my thing about it is that's TJ's fault. I don't think there's anything wrong with being called gay. People have assumed that I was a lesbian. I never felt no type of way, because one, I don't eat carpet, and I don't think being gay is offensive. So it's never been like, ooh, it's a dig to me. You know what I'm saying? So that says a lot about TJ, in my opinion. But it's also like, bro, your behavior lended to the narrative of whether the gun was pink or it was purple. Because You acted like you didn't want to be around her, that you were repulsed by her, and you only got really excited, or your personality really kind of like was in the best light when you were around other men, when you were with the trainer, or when you were sitting with the other men talking to Ray or talking to Greg or Eddie or anybody that of that nature. So it's like, this is your fault. Like, you were the one that showed this side of you, and now that you don't like the way people saw you showing up, now all of a sudden it's Stacey's fault. No. It's giving very much that you're mad that you thought you were good at hiding whatever parts of yourself and it got exposed. That's just it. That's all. So they continue with Stacey and them saying, I have a certain amount of respect for your husband, Wendy, because I love you, but I just don't believe this. And Wendy's like, girl, what is there not to believe? And I think Giselle ends up saying, girl, they have it on camera. They have it on camera. So what are you talking about? Like, Giselle's like, everyone's like, yes, Stacey, they have it on camera. And so then Wendy takes this opportunity to be like, Stacey, call him. Like, girl, call him. Because I'm going to be honest, as your friend, because I love you. I was getting tired of Wendy saying that. As your friend, because I love you. Girl, you're not friends with none of these ladies and you do not love them. You should have just been like, look, as a person that has gotten to know you and grown to like you, sis, I'm going to let you know here and now that if you do not expose this information, everyone's going to be calling your character into question. And Wendy isn't the only person that said that, because on Watch What Happens Live, Dr. Simone said the same thing. She was like, girl, you need to bring receipts, because if they bring this up next season and you don't have receipts, you're going to be looking crazy out here. So everyone is trying to give Stacey good advice. Like, look, you have the opportunity to clear this up. And if you want to clear it up, you need to say something. You need to show us something. The same way you pulled out receipts on Mia, you need to pull out receipts on TJ. And so, what's it called? Stacey really doesn't want to hear it, but they end up finishing with Eddie. And it was very much like a blip, because then they asked Eddie how he's doing with his family. He ends up saying they're actually really good right about now. And then he walks off stage. So then we realize that none of the men are coming out. And so Kiana's like, Greg is going to be so mad at me. And I'd be mad at you too, because girl, I came here for nothing. Where's the concession stands? Where the food at? Because why am I here, girl? So then Ashley chimes in after Eddie gets off the stage being like, well, there's nothing wrong with, wanting to get on this show and have a storyline. And that's when Stacey gets mad and she's like, let me be clear. I don't need no man to get on any show, okay? I don't need an accessory. And I was like, girl, was that a dig towards TJ? Because y'all know some women like to use gay men as accessories. So I was like, is that a dig towards him? Like, you knew he was a part of the community? I don't know. Either way, Stacey's energy towards everybody, I'm like, you have all this in your chest for everybody, but not TJ. So then, y'all, so it's now time for them to play the audio. So Andy gets up and sits in between Wendy and Stacey. And so he leans back, pulls out his phone. He got it like this for Stacey to look at it. I don't know if they were listening or if it was actually like video. And so Ashley, being a thirst bucket, is like, well, turn it up because I want to hear, because I'm invested. I'm like, Ashley, calm down. Calm down. And so Andy is even telling Ashley, like, calm down. Stacey needs to see this first. Hold on. So they play it. You have a rehashing of what we saw last episode where Eddie and Greg are like, TJ, where you at? Like, where you at, bro? And he was like, TJ ends up saying they didn't invite me. Like, clearly they didn't invite me. And so they're like, what? For real? And so Eddie ends up being like, well, dang, man, next time you in DC, we got to link up. And TJ's like, bro, I'm never going to be back in DC. And they like, what you mean? And he's like, I'm not going to be on that fake ass show with them fake ass people. Y'all know she was paying me, right? And so everyone's like, what? No, we didn't know that. So when he says she was paying me, everyone's like, what? Like, everyone's like, oh my God, he said it. Giselle throws her pillow and Stacey's like, what are you saying? And they're like, play it again, play it again. And so they played it again where it says, she's paying me to do the show. And so everyone's like, no, we didn't know that. And so then he ends up saying, tell her to give me my money. I said, not TJ saying, run me my money, ho. I said, oh. And so now Jacqueline is looking like, ooh, girl. Because Jacqueline was trying to take up for Stacey, being like, why would Stacey need to pay somebody? Look at her, she's beautiful. And now she's like, ooh, Stacey. So then you hear TJ say, look, she's whack, man. That's it. That's so it. And so everyone's like, Stacey. So now Stacey is like flabbergasted. I don't understand why Stacey would even like entertain them playing that audio to embarrass her even further. Because in my opinion, if I was her, I would have called that man. The same way she pulled out her phone to pull up receipts on Mia, I would have pulled out my phone and I would have been like, so we over here lying. Because why you lying, telling people that I paid you to do this? You are a mother effing lie. You're a liar. You're a lie. Like when I tell you I would have been on that phone cussing him out and being like, post the receipts, TJ. Post the receipts. Because if I really did pay you, I need you to drop the text message thread, the email, the Venmo, like Ashley was saying, did she Venmo him? Did she Zelle him? Did she Cash App him? Like PayPal? Like drop every receipt to show that I paid you. But this whole like trying to feign like, oh my God, I just can't believe he would do that to me. I can't believe. Stacey is delusional. Stacey is delusional because she then goes on to say like, I don't know, this is just so hurtful that he would say something like this. And Jacqueline's face while Stacey is talking, and Jacqueline is so like, girl. Kiana is even like, Stacey, this is BS. Like, this is BS, girl. And so she's like, it's just so hurtful. And Giselle is like, okay, Stacey. And she's just like, I just can't believe a man of God would be doing this. Honestly, I don't understand, because this is someone who I had very in-depth conversations with about the show, about how we both looked. And like, I thought he knew that I loved him and he loved me. I said, Stacey, this 2B monologue, it's not hitting, sis. It's not hitting. And she was like, I've never paid someone to like be with me or to see me. Like, and so then Wendy chimes in and she was like, I just want to be on record. And I know you going through something, but my husband didn't lie. And Giselle's like, Wendy. I said, ooh, Wendy. Wendy was really feeling her zhuzh. She was really feeling her zhuzh right here. Like, but she felt vindicated. You could tell that Wendy really enjoyed this reunion, because I feel like this is the first reunion Wendy was not like, her back was not up against the wall and she was enjoying herself. Because I was like, girl, you is really sticking it to Stacey right now, being like, I just want to go on record, my man didn't lie. So then, Stacey just said, all I can say is hurt people. When I tell you I screamed, I said, Stacey, this girl is delusional. Girl, I said, oh, Stacey, you're delusional. Poor baby. Because, girl, what? What do you mean? What do you mean, Stacey? Hurt people. And that's when Kiana is like, girl, that's BS. That's BS, Stacey. Like, you should have just been honest. So then Stacey is like, I don't understand why y'all are being this way towards me, because y'all were the ones that told me that TJ was a problem, and here I am. And so everyone's like, Stacey. And then Andy's like, no, y'all, like, I think she's about to vindicate y'all. But then Stacey ends up backpedaling, pretty much trying to like say like the girls shouldn't believe what TJ is telling them, and basically trying to feign like y'all are the problem, trying to gaslight them. And Wendy's like, no, girl, don't try to act like all of a sudden we're just taking TJ's side, when just 27 minutes ago we just tried to tell you to be honest. We tried to give you that sisterhood you speak of, to actually cop to what just happened and like clear your name. This is your cross to bear alone. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. And so Stacey is just like she doesn't know what to say, because they're like, you could call him right now. They keep saying call him and clear it up. Even Andy was like, why don't you call him? And she was like, I will call him with my lawyer. And everyone's like, Stacey. I said, yeah, Stacey, right there. saying that put the nail in the coffin. It just put the nail in the coffin. Like, for me, I feel like, here's the thing. I think that both TJ and Stacey, to a certain extent, are telling the truth. I do think that their relationship is fake. I do think she said that she was going to pay him, but maybe pay him in exposure on being on this show. Because like I've been telling y'all since I've been reviewing this season, it definitely gave that these were two friends who were trying to, garner some type of fame or get some type of money, because TJ is definitely a struggling actor with no sauce, no juice, no push since he was on Sister Sisters in the 90s. He's not made a name for himself, and he in his 50s. So he wanted to be on this show to get exposure. It backfired. And I feel like because TJ already was aware of how people perceived him online, he definitely saw people saying that Stacey probably paid him to be on this show. So I feel like he's using that against her, because now he's embarrassed and ashamed because this plan didn't work out for them. And I definitely believe Stacey knew that this relationship was fake. So this whole I was in love with him, she sounds stupid. And even when she was on Watch What Happens Live, it made her look stupider. And it's definitely given that she was probably in a situation like Charisse, where she wasn't able to really talk about her relationship because she was probably worried about her husband being difficult in her divorce. Because this is crazy to me that Stacey came on the show getting a divorce, and by the time we get to the reunion, she done. And we don't even know specifically the reasons why she's getting a divorce. Whether her and her husband drifted apart, whether he cheated or Stacey cheated, or, somebody was doing something like y'all lost trust in each other, or anything like that, or that y'all just got to a point where y'all didn't like each other at some point. But we don't even know specifically why Stacey broke up with that man. And I don't know if that was on purpose because Stacey wanted to get the money or the alimony that she wanted out of him. So that's why she brought TJ on the show. Either way, it's not a good look, and she looked bad. Both her and TJ look bad. TJ looks like a thirsty clout chaser and a cornball and a lame. And Stacey just looks like a desperate Betty who was trying to garner some type of fame. And it also lends to the narrative of all those blind items about her leaking, being on the show, about, her trying to get production and take things out because the girls found out about her leaking things on the show. It definitely gives girl, you're a desperado and you got caught up. We move on from the TJ and Stacey of it all, and we get back to Karen and her case and all that stuff. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't interested in this segment, mainly because we already know the outcome. Karen is in jail for the next year, and she probably won't get out for at least 6 months, depending on how overcrowded the jail is. So I was just kind of nothing any of these women said really was oh my gosh, because it's clearly the lady has a problem if this is her 4th documented DUI, so I didn't really care what anyone had to say, to be honest. So as the episode continues, or this segment continues, a viewer's question is does anybody think Karen has a problem? Giselle says yes, and then Ashley ends up saying she feels like Karen uses alcohol to cope with her difficulties. She brings up her parents passing away and all of that stuff, and everyone's kind of yeah, girl, no. But they also are did Karen do a lot of deflection this season? And she did. They talk about how hard she was on Jacqueline. Honestly, to me, it was warranted, because it's not like Karen was coming towards Jacqueline or knocked at Jacqueline's door. Jacqueline came to Karen on her doorstep and banged on her door, and Karen opened that door and gave her what she wanted. I don't care that Karen's in jail for a year of a DUI, and she probably is more than likely an alcoholic. If you come knocking at somebody's door, they have every right to defend themselves. And that lady was not messing with Jacqueline. And I think Karen was pissed at Jacqueline because out of everybody on the show, it seems like Karen was one of the only women that still talked to Jacqueline and reached out to her, even though Mia had fell out with her and didn't want her to be a part of the group. And the moment that Jacqueline got cool with Mia, it was she was back to being wedged up that lady's butthole. So it's you did yourself a disservice, in my opinion. So I don't care that Karen cussed you out to the point of tears twice, okay? So Jacqueline was but can we go on the record that Mia is the one that threw me under the bus? And all of the ladies are yeah, she threw you under the bus, but you also didn't help yourself out, because when they flash back to the, to the Hatitude party, Mia did throw Jacqueline under the bus, and I noted that. But then Jacqueline continued the conversation by saying that it gave a lit Karen. So it was kind of just you continued the conversation. You didn't try to dead it. You didn't try to stop it. You continued it. And then you added on that it didn't give a sober Karen. So you were playing in the mud too. So Giselle says, honestly, Karen's concern was she didn't know whether or not the people were going to be looking at the show before her trial. And you were not getting that by constantly talking to her about this stuff. And so then Wendy said, I'm going to have to push back on that because Karen kept pushing back her court date. And honestly, if I was her, she should have did the court date before the show. And everyone was like, yeah, no, I would have did the same thing. Even Giselle was like, yeah, no, I would have went to trial way before this show and called it a day. So then Giselle's like, honestly, all I know is she kept pushing it back because she said something about paperwork and her Miranda rights not being read to her and all of that stuff. So then they talk about Jacqueline and these 8 balloons. And they were like, girl, you were trying to be shady. And Jacqueline was like, no, I was coming from a place of care and kindness. And they were like, no, girl. So then Jacqueline said in the beginning, no, she was trying to be shady because Karen came for her baby daddy, PP. But I'm like, but Karen only came for PP because you were trying her. You should have never tried that lady and she wouldn't have came for you. So then they asked did Karen press charges and they were like, no. And then Jacqueline was like, honestly, Karen never sued me, but does she have any money after this case? Like, is she going to have any money after this case? And everyone was like, whoa. And I said, Jacqueline, that should have let you know they don't see it for you like that because nobody laughed. Nobody thought it was a kiki. They all was like, slow your roll, girl. Like, you a friend, not a full time. And we know Karen more than we know you. They was like, pump your brakes. Pump your brakes. So then Andy ends up asking Kiarna, how does she feel about Karen not divulging this information to her? And it was just interesting to see the smug look on Wendy's face. Like when I tell you Wendy was like I said, Wendy was feeling her judge this reunion because she wasn't the one in the hot seat. She really didn't have that much to be held to the fire for, or if anything, to be honest. And like she was arguing with people, she made good points. And I think she was really sticking it to Karen, constantly talking about how, no, I don't believe this, I don't believe that, because of what Karen said about her not being genuine and self-centered. And I think she was sticking it to Stacey for Stacey knowing this information and waiting until she fell out with Karen to talk about it. Cause she had this look of like, yeah, girl, that's your girl though, but she ain't tell you about all of this. Like that's really was the look Wendy had when Kiarna was talking. So Kiarna ends up saying like, you know, it does hurt that she didn't tell me all of this. She's like, I told Karen privately that, hey, Greg's clinic deals with substance abuse and we can help you privately. But Karen kept saying, she's fine. She didn't need like all of that. And I don't think I would go to Greg either, Kiarna. But I mean, nice that you offered. You know, it's nice that you offered. So then they talk about the trial being public and everyone being like, I don't understand why Karen would have taken this to trial, especially after the body cam footage. Like, this is crazy and it's just embarrassing. And I think Ashley ends up saying Karen had horrible legal counsel, but honestly I feel like Karen is but so much legal counsel can do. They can tell you not to do anything like this, but Karen at the end of the day can go to trial if she wants to go to trial. That is her right. But what's really kind of interesting is I wonder if her lawyers were like, well, if we get her off, even with body cam footage and all, that raises our profile, because there are a lot of lawyers that even if their client has damning evidence, the moment they get that person off, their monetary value goes up. So I wonder if that's where her lawyers were coming from. But either way, everybody involved looks stupid, because after that body cam footage was released, girl, embarrassing. The secondhand embarrassment, when they played the body cam footage on this part, my stomach like just started turning because I was so embarrassed for Karen. I'm saying maybe Karen didn't see the body cam footage and everyone's just kind of like, no, she saw it, because then Wendy ends up saying her counsel was trying to get it thrown out. And then even Giselle was like, yeah, they were trying to get rid of the evidence. So she saw something. So then Giselle ends up saying like, no, I think Andy ends up being like, well, why didn't she take a plea deal? Giselle says she heard like 2 different things. Same thing. I've heard several different statements, but nobody has ever been able to produce like an actual like news article or something saying these things where Karen was offered 6 months of house arrest or 60 days in jail. And everyone's just like, well, why didn't she take the 6 months of house arrest? Like, and Andy's like, I love my house. But to Jacqueline's credit, Jacqueline was like, it's because of the brand. Like, who, like, she couldn't fathom that. And I was like, yeah, Karen probably could not fathom being put on house arrest. Like, that was probably a worse fate than going to jail is being on house arrest. But that's also how you can tell how big her ego has gotten, because I would have took them 6 months of house arrest and just would have stayed in the house. At least you can go outside, you know, get some fresh air. You can have people come to you. And if you do have a drinking problem, you could get drunk at the house and call it a day. There's that. So she was just like, everyone's just like, really, girl? Like, this is crazy. So then they end up talking about Karen's infamous clankety clank, tell your husband not to drop the soap. And everyone's like, oh, that didn't age well. No, it was true. In that moment, it was true. Like, Michael has got caught up touching people without their consent. And it's crazy that he has never suffered any consequences for his behavior, but Karen is in jail for her behavior. Wild. That should show you how the world works. Because although Karen deserves to be in jail, Michael needed to suffer some consequences and be in jail too. Okay? And so Ashley ends up saying that, you know, she does feel a little vindicated because, you know, karma's a bitch. And I'm like, girl, your life is karma. What karma? What? Okay, Ashley. So they continue talking. Ashley ends up saying after the incident or the DUI, somebody texted her and basically told her that Karen was in the car with somebody, and everyone's like, what? And I'm like, girl, I don't believe that. And even when I saw it and we talked about it, I was like, I don't believe that, because I feel as though they said that there was an eyewitness and he didn't see anybody jump out of the car. And if someone really did jump out of the car, they probably would have saw footprints in the mud, or they would have, like, the car would have been so in such a way that it would have gave the presence that there were two people in the car, not just one. So they show the body cam footage, and like I said, my stomach was in knots, where Karen ends up saying, you know, the security that you hired, like, they left. And I was like, I just think Karen was trying to lie on the spot because she knew she got caught up. She knew she got caught up. So then they were like, whatever happened to the two people, or the people that Karen said that she was on, out and about with that night? Because they never came to try to testify for her. And they were like, I don't know. And Giselle said the bar was like 4 minutes down from Karen's house. And so they were like, oh, so she really thought that she could make it. And then Andy ended up saying, what did Andy say? Oh, Andy ended up saying, like, you know, Uber it's so easy to get an Uber. So then Ashley, no, I think it wasn't Ashley. It was Wendy ends up being like, And they're like, Wendy, say something. And I'm like, yeah, girl, you hear that whole, like, I'm not going to say it, girl, say it. Because clearly you've been on Karen's neck since the beginning of the reunion, because she snubbed you. After she snubbed you, you had no grace for Karen. So you might as well just keep talking. So Wendy decides not to say anything. So they continue, and then they end up showing us this, like, poorly orchestrated scene by Ray and Karen. And I tell you, Karen was perched on that bed, makeup, hair coiffed, book trying to read. And the way that she was perched, I said, girl, to the end, you gonna be delusional and prideful. It was a mess. Like, the scene just didn't give. Karen ends up admitting that she was mixing antidepressants and using alcohol to cope with the death of her parents, and that she was messing with the doses of her medicine. But it just rubbed everybody the wrong way because there was no humility or accountability. But what was interesting to me is that they played that video, but not the video that we saw on the part one, where Karen was disheveled, crying, saying that she's worried about her family, she's not worried about herself. Because that also said that was filmed on December the 27th, or maybe, the 27th. So I'm just like, why didn't y'all show that video? Y'all should have known to show that video instead of this. But like one of my mutuals said online, production is tired of, I guess, protecting Karen, because I was like, girl, they showing everything. They embarrassing this lady because she did it to herself. So everyone was just like, y'all could have kept that. Like, Giselle was like, that was no accountability. Y'all should have just scrapped that. Like, they tried to hit all the points that they thought we were going to tell her to hit, and that just wasn't it right then and there. So everyone talks about the antidepressants. They talk about the beers because they were like, that doesn't make sense. So you didn't want beer, but you were taking champagne. But then Wendy brings up, a girl, you had Stella Rosa in the car. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about this? So then Ashley wants to tell us another story, how she was on the train to the way to the reunion. And she said some guy ends up saying that he used to work at Montgomery Mall and Karen would come in every day and day drink. And so everyone's like, what? And then Wendy says, see, that's what I was going to say while we were filming. This person came to me and I went to some bar and this person came to me and was just like, oh, you on that show with Karen? And I was like, yes. And they were like, she comes here every day and day drinks. And everyone's like, oh. And here's my thing. I don't have a problem with Karen day drinking because she's 61 years old. She's retired. She could day drink. If you like me and you like a good brunch and you like to drink in the afternoon, then I'm not going to judge you. Where I judge Karen and where she is wrong is getting behind the wheel of a car and endangering other people around her. That's it. That's all. Her day drinking is not a big deal. So then Stacey ends up saying, no matter what, aren't we just happy that she's going to get the help? What we doing? So after Stacey says what she said about, aren't we just happy that she getting the help at least, they move on and now it's basically time to wrap up the reunion. We find out that Kiana and Greg, again, Andy brings up them looking for rings. But I saw online somewhere that people are speculating that Kiana and Greg broke up because of some live she did on IG. I mean, if it happened, good for her. Spread your wings, ma'am. They talk about Ashley getting a divorce from Michael, and she ended up saying that she would be divorced by the end of this or by the time the reunion comes out, which Wendy scoffs at, but Ashley got the last laugh because she is broken up. Like, her divorce was finalized and her and Michael are no longer together. They talk about Andy's happy to see Giselle and Wendy getting along and saying how good of their banter was, and they might have more things in common than not. They kind of throw fun shade at each other. And then they talk about Stacey and how she had a great season, but then Giselle ends up saying, but girl, she crashed and burned at this reunion. And then they were like, so where do you go with TJ? And she basically said, me and TJ go nowhere. And they were like, okay. And then she said, but still I rise and I'll be all right. When I tell you I screamed, I said, Wendy, Stacey, what are one of y'all? What? Not Maya Angelou. And everybody said, girl, leave Maya Angelou alone. She turning in her grave. So then they bring up Mia, because Andy says, speaking of Maya Angelou has left the building. And everybody's like, don't put Maya Angelou and Mia in the same boat. And I said, don't do that. That's disrespectful. Very disrespectful. And Giselle ends up saying, like, that's whack that she left. Like, we all come to the reunion. We know like what it's going to be. Everyone has sat in the hot seat, and for her to leave, that's whack. And then Ashley piggybacks off of Giselle being like, yeah, she stood on business this whole entire season. Like no apologies, no nothing. And then now when you're being held to task about your behavior, now all of a sudden you can't handle it. And then Giselle's like, the tears, the lies, like it's just too much. And Wendy ends up saying, like, that's all I was trying to say to Mia. Like, you had the opportunity to course correct as the show was going on, but you didn't do it. You didn't do it. And so she ends up saying, let the record stand. I clocked Mia her first season and all of y'all was trying to give me lip about it. Is she right? And Ashley said, yeah, you did clock her when we first met Mia at your house where Mia couldn't get her age together. And I said, true. They not wrong. And because you have Wendy being like, come on, Miss Mathematician, when she was saying Gordon is like 68 and she's tried to say she was like 36 and she couldn't get her math together. And then she finally ended up saying, no, I'm 38. And so that's where the reunion ends. And then they ended with Karen pretty much being sentenced to 1 year in prison and her being taken into custody immediately. I would give the entire season a 7. Like without the reunion, I would have gave it like a 6.5 because there were very like funny moments of being like, ooh, girl. But all in all, it was like a 6.5 worthy season, especially on the heels of them losing Candace and Robin. But with this reunion that I did enjoy, I really felt like it could have just been a 2-part, but I would give this reunion, I would give the season a whole, like I said, a 7. Now, I'm wondering what they're going to do now that it's official that Karen is in jail. Like, a lot of people online were saying that they could bring people back. So some people are suggesting they bring Candace back, Sharice, Monique. There's some people say bring Robin back. You also have Katie and you have NECA. I wouldn't mind Sharice coming back in a full capacity, like where we could really get to know her and see her and probably see a better side of her now that Karen is no longer here. And it seems like her whole situation with Eddie is done and all of that stuff. As much as I love Candace, I don't want her back only because it seems like she is in a very happy place. And I don't want her coming back and people starting to rag on her. I feel like she doesn't need to come back until like season 11 or 12. Like, people need to really miss Candace and appreciate what she brought to the show a little bit more. Robin, I wouldn't mind Robin coming back, but I feel like same thing with Candace. If Robin were to come back, I think she needs to come back season 11. So Candace season 12, Robin season 11. Because Giselle was enjoyable this season because I don't think she had that like constant friend with her all the time. The same way Mia felt emboldened always having Jacqueline around, Giselle wasn't emboldened to stay in her behavior because she didn't have a built-in friend of the show always being around her. So I don't know if I would want Robin back until like season 11 or 12 with Candace. And then Monique serves no purpose in my opinion. I don't want to see that lady back. Like, we saw her on Real Housewives of DC. We saw her on Love and Marriage DC, and she didn't really deliver. And it also seems like Monique is trying her best to get away from the reality TV of it all. So I'm not really interested in seeing her. Katie, as much as everyone is clocking Karen and her issues with alcohol, Katie got demons. And I don't think Katie needs to be on this show until she has a couple of years, like a decade or so under her belt, because I do not want to see that lady relapse because she can't handle fans' backlash or their opinions about her. NECA, I think out of everybody, I would say bring NECA back. NECA grew on me closer to the end of the season. I feel like had she gotten another opportunity, maybe her and Wendy would be able to work out their situation. Because I always go back to the way that Wendy is able to forgive Mia, Ashley, and Giselle. You can forgive NECA. You can, especially when you realize that Ashley is the one that brought the Osu situation around to the show. Because, I mean, you forgave Mia after she tried to douse you with a drink and tried to hit you with her pocketbook. She tried to get physical with you. You forgave Ashley after she's been on your neck for 5 seasons and you and Giselle were able to come to some type of understanding. And I feel like with NECA being pregnant and like we know, unfortunately, she was supposed to have twins. One of the twins passed away in the womb. I do think she has a interesting story because she was very adamant about getting pregnant and boom, bam, pow, she's pregnant. So I feel like since we didn't get to see Candace go through her pregnancy journey, unless you follow her on Instagram, it would be nice to see NECA and her being a new mom and things of that nature. So I say out of everybody that is an OG or a, veteran of the show or a one and done housewife, I would bring back NECA. Y'all let me know who y'all would bring back. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. And as always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in them comments below. Share your thoughts with me, subscribe, and like the video. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.